Hey everybody, I'm Tara from Crooked Row, and today we're gonna make onion powder. I love to have everything come from the farm if I can, but actually, if you didn't grow onions this year, go ahead and go buy them from the supermarket or grocery store and just follow what we're saying. It works exactly the same. I think anybody with an oven or dehydrator can do it. And I think it personally is a better flavor that you're gonna get. I always have people ask, is it worth growing your own onions? Because you can get them so cheap from the store. Onions at my store are $2 a pound now. That's on sale too. They can go up to about $2.65 a pound. So from that perspective, it's worth it to me because I can spend $10 and have onions for the year. But there's so many different things that you can do with your onions, and I like to have them fresh, of course, and I get my biggest, most healthy onions and I put them in mesh bags for that. And then I will also chop some up, like ones that I can see are going to, they're not bad at all, but they're starting to maybe slightly get soft. I'll go ahead and chop those up right away, put them on a baking sheet, freeze them in my chest freezer, which, careful, because it does make your chest freezer smell like onions. But I go ahead and I freeze them, and then I kind of break them up and put them in a Ziploc freezer bag. That's two. You can dehydrate onions, which is what we are actually going to do today, is dehydrate them, because you have to dehydrate them in order to process them down to a fine powder for your onion powder. I love onion powder. I think when you're making your own ranch, onion powder is so key. So I'm gonna head in. Oh, also, little onions are perfect for this. I like to save my big, great looking onions for dinner time, not because of anything. You could totally use your little onions, but I have, ooh, bug. I have a big family, and so I need to do dinner very quickly every day. And so it does become time consuming to do little onions. So, but I don't want to get rid of little onions. So I will either use them in like broth, I use them in soups and stews, because you just have to peel it and a lot of times just have it, and you can utilize it in with roast or just whatever recipes that you have that require onions. But today I'm going to use them so that we can make powder, because I'm not in a hurry to get dinner on the table right now. So I'm gonna go in and we're gonna chop up my small onions so that we can dehydrate onions. Let's go to the kitchen. Okay, I have these trays that will go into my dehydrator. I highly suggest buying trays specifically for drying onions and garlic, because onions and garlic are so pungent that they will absolutely ruin the tray for anything else. So I'm using small onions like these, and I'm gonna go ahead and fill these 6 trays, and then we'll go out to the dehydrator. Ooh, that's not good. So if you cut yours open, because this felt firm and great, and you see that, do not use those. That is, if you can see, that's mushy. Ugh, gross. That is a beautiful onion. So these are the kinds that I'm going to use that are firm and great on the inside. Okay, you want to make sure and break all of the little rings up so that air can circulate around each one. And if you run out of room on your tray, like you don't want stacking, you want a single layer, then just move it all to another tray. Okay, that should be good. I've got 6 more of these to go. I know that my fan is obnoxious, but if you can see my eye here, I am crying like no one's business. These are definitely fresh onions. So Jed felt so bad for me. He gave me a fix for it. I'm gonna cut onions now. Okay, we are in my carport and I have the dehydrator right here. As you can see behind me, we've got bikes and seed trays and my kids' guinea pig cage. So this is not usually where we do this, but for onions and garlic, you got to do it outside. If you don't do it outside, you really are going to run the risk of making your house smell like onions for a long time. So I am just going to take off all the trays. Actually, let me do it so you can see it. Just take off all the trays and place my onions in them. Place this on, and I'm gonna let these dehydrate until they are crisp, but I'll bring you back when I do it. Okay, so I came out here to check these and they're drying really, really well. But I'm going to, because they have shrunk so much, I'm going to go through the different trays and start conglomerating these. These feel dry, but they don't snap when you bend them. So they're not dry enough. But at this stage, I will keep a very, very close eye on these. And I'm going to go through each of these and see if I can get more and more of them, since they've reduced in size, on the same trays. Any trays that have, like, ones that have a lot of moisture in them, I will keep separate from these dried ones. And the dried ones I'm going to keep on top, and the more moist ones I'm going to put lower down near the heating element. So I'm going to get to that. Okay, I have come out to check on, I turned this off a little bit ago because we had to go somewhere. Can you hear that? This definitely is crispy. It's breaking in my fingers. So now I'm going to put these and these in my canning jar. And then I'm going to do this over and over and over again until I have enough to make about probably a ½ pound of onion powder. So here we go. Okay, it actually ended up taking a few days to dry about this many. So that's about a quart of dried onions. And here is a second one. I didn't quite get a quart out of the red onions, but you can hear how crunchy that is. And we're here in the kitchen with my food processor. If you don't have a food processor, you can also use a coffee grinder, but don't get a burr grinder because I don't believe that would work. If you've used a burr grinder and it worked successfully, let me know in the comments below. But this is the blade grinder, and you can use garlic, you can use whatever you need to grind. But the reason why I'm not is because I have so much that I want to get done. So I'm just going to throw these separately in my food processor to the consistency that I would like. So I'm gonna get started on that. Okay guys, that is all finished, and so I want to give you a couple little hints. One, don't feel like you have to do what I just did. You can leave your dried onions dry and maybe even do them as you want to do them. I also have a big suggestion. I don't know if I got this across enough in the video, is that I started all of this now because when it gets too cold, I'm not going to be able to put my dehydrator in my carport. And why put the dehydrator in the carport is simple. Those onions will stink your house to high heaven. Now, for whatever reason, and I don't know why this is, when I put them in my oven, and I put them, the lowest my oven will go is 170. They try to tell you to keep it around 140, but again, that's the lowest mine would go. And because I have a gas oven, you can't prop the door open. If you have an electric oven, you can. And that will bring the temperature down a little bit. But not only did it get done super, super fast in my oven, but it didn't take nearly as long. I mean, 30 more degrees is a lot, I guess. So just a food for thought. But why would we do this? Why would we make onion powder? Well, some varieties of your onions aren't going to last as long as others. And so if you planted an onion that is maybe not going to last as long in storage, but you have tons of those, you could definitely use it for this. I mean, it's just a great way, another way to preserve food. And so I want to encourage you to keep trying things. You know, the granulated garlic, I almost felt like that was a disaster, to be honest. It wasn't. We totally got granulated garlic. It took so long. I kept having to stop because the granulated garlic would get so hot and it just wasn't breaking down. Now, let me be fair. You're really supposed to slice your cloves. I know this is an onion powder video, guys, but if you're also doing your granulated garlic like I am as well, your food in the food processor will start to get hot, and garlic has like a sticky quality to it, and so it was a lot to deal with. So slicing it super thin might be better than I like kind of minced it all up and then spread it out. And probably not the best option. Now if you're gonna leave it chunky, you could do that. As far as the onions go, just very, very thin slices. I would suggest if you're gonna do a bunch of onions, remember the size of your dehydrator. You want to slice the onions as they're going in. You don't want them just sitting out. There are people who actually try to air dry these things. I don't know how that would work out. I feel like the onions were easy, but they're so thin that you do have to go and kind of like stir them up in the dehydrator, which was fine, but considering how long they took, because just to remember how juicy onions are. And so I kept having to run out, and I think my yellow onions took me, I want to say 3 days. And then the red onions, for whatever reason, those were finished a little quicker. And at one point, one of my batches I brought in, because I didn't want to keep them in overnight because they were going to get too crunchy. So I brought them in, and the next morning they were kind of limp. Like I picked it up and it was just kind of limp. And so popped it into my oven for just a few minutes, really. It made them crisp. Now you don't want to burn your onions. You only want them to be crisp. You can hear Maggie. Overall, the onions have been a lot easier than my granulated garlic were. And I want to encourage you too, like if you're sick of doing the onion, you're just not ready to put them into powder yet, or you're just sick of doing onions. I had, in the midst of all of this taping, I had a family camping trip in the middle of all of this. So I had to just store mine, as you saw, in the canning jars. And then once we were all finished with our camping trip, then you saw me go ahead and process that just a few minutes ago. So that is the thing that I do like about putting this stuff up. Whereas most things, you have to process it and can it right away, and you know, you're having to do what you got to do. But if it's already dried, I mean, now I will just say this doesn't always work with other things besides the onions. Like, well, it does work for everything else if you keep it in an airtight container like a canning jar. So keep it airtight. For those of you that want to really make sure that nothing happens, you can get those little packs of oxygen eaters, and that'll keep, you know, it from clumping together, at least so bad. I have to be honest though, because I did my granulated garlic first, I have been utilizing that, and it will, again, it has like a sticky, like resinous quality to it, and so it will clump together a little bit. But I just, when I go to like get some out of my little jar, I just break it up really quickly. So my onion powder and my garlic powder has so much more of a stronger garlic scent than what I get into the store. So again, why do we always do this? Well, one, we're protecting our harvests. You know, you can freeze your onions, you can dry your onions, you can store them in a cool place and use them fresh. But we are doing all of this work in our farms and in our gardens so that we can keep what we have worked so hard for. So I strongly encourage you to especially do the onion powder. That one was so easy. And you can hit the pause button on it if you need to. So also try using the red onions, because the red onions gave such a pretty pink little powder to it. So I mean, I'll let you know. I'll start using it in videos and let you know how it makes things look. And you'll notice too, with different onion powders or even your garlics, you'll notice how they might have different smells to them. So like my yellow Spanish onions smell a little bit sweeter than my red onions. So that's fascinating to me, and especially because we're all gardening so that we can have good healthy food to cook and feed our families. So let me know in the comments below if you have any tips for us in our preservation and what else we can do with onions. And if you are looking to have a lot, like I typically, for about a pound of garlic powder usually lasts us about 8 months. I clearly got, out of both quarts of those, I only got a full cup. So that's only about 8 ounces. That's half of what we need. And I just want to encourage you, remember, like a lot of these preservation methods take a lot of product. So this took a lot of onions to use. So not as many as I thought, though, to be fair. So if you need a pound, you're probably going to need about 10 pounds of onions. So there you go. There you have it. Let us know any tips or tricks that you have in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. We enjoy making videos and we love to hear from you. So remember, if we can do our own garlic powder and onion powder, actually, remember, if we can do our own onion powder, anybody can. Thanks. Bye.